lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the pit completely. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eckert.
Welcome to the iSuperSpeedway.com racing series. We are at Daytona once again for round 9 of season 2, and we are bringing it to you live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I am Joe Peak. Joining me this evening is Evan Basoko and Richard Losper. Our director is Giancarlo Lenzi, and we use the great camera sets from Dougie Beard in all of our broadcasts. Now let's go to Evan for the traditional information on Daytona Speedway.
Yeah, this is going to be our second to last trip to Daytona on this Season 2 campaign, so our final shot at it here in the daytime, but obviously the track is a 2.5 mile plate track asphalt surface with 31 degrees of banking in the corners, 4 turns, and obviously 18 degrees in the tri-oval opposite of Talladega that we saw last week. The start-finish line is centered with that tri-oval. Also 2 degrees on the back straightaway, not really that noticeable. Back straightaway really not a factor here. Again, the no push rules still in effect, but today's race is going to be 50 laps. That's 125 miles. The weather is going to be 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 81% relative humidity, winds to the northeast at 7 miles an hour, partly cloudy. So a little bit of a hot one out tonight.
Absolutely. And remember, with cautions being in effect in this race, that there is a chance that you can get a hold of us through things such as Twitter. But just in general, if you want to contact us through various social media, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel and Twitter at GSR Channel. So if you have any questions or comments about this broadcast, or just want to stay in touch with us, you know where to find us through those. And like I said, cautions will be happening most likely, so tweet at us during the race. We do answer questions live on air. Now, Evan, you mentioned that there are some special rules in this league since this is strictly super speedway racing in this league. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about some of the specifics that the drivers have to worry about?
Yeah, the league organizers continue to work with an aero package, and they keep messing around with the setup here to try to find the right combination. But since the All-Star race had come and passed this second half of the season, we have re-implemented 3 key rules that the drivers must follow when they're out there on the racetrack. Number 1 is you cannot be bump drafting in the corners or the tri-oval. That is the fastest way on a racetrack. You're not allowed to do it in the turns or the tri-oval, so you really have to utilize that back straightaway as much as you can. Also, the leader has to start the race on the drop of the green flag from the sim. He cannot jump and he can't let the guy know behind him that they're going to go a little bit earlier. You have to go on green. Then we'll create an even starting for the field. And also, if you are leading a lot of cars, if you're the first car on the inside or on the outside lane, you can't be dragging the brake to try to help somebody get in front of you, maybe your partner. You have to be always 100% on the throttle.
And we have Richard here with us. And Richard, what's the championship situation looking like?
Hi Joe, hi Evan. Just a few technical problems I had there just at the start. I've overcome that now and I'm back in business. Having a look at the championship, Brandon Chiberko currently leads the championship. He has taken over from Frank Pusilio, who had a terrible race last week, and that has in fact shifted him down to third position. Our second place is now being held down by Rod Flagg, and Frank Pusilio in third, as we said. Fourth place, Donny Garatano. Fifth place, Shane McKeechan. Rodney Wofford is there in sixth place. Seventh place, Mark Jorgensen, who also had a bad race last week. Wasn't very happy about that at all. Dana Osborne in eighth place. Joshua Hanna in ninth place. And Greg Hooks is in 10th place. So that's the current championship. There are only a few races left, as we do see the pace car now out on track. And the guys gridding up, getting ready for a start. So it's going to be pretty exciting as we, the races wind down. Evan, these guys are running a few different cars here tonight. Can we just run through that real quickly before we get to the grid?
Yeah, the three cars in use are going to be all three variations of the NASCAR Cup car, the Gen 6. That includes the Chevrolet, the Ford, and the Toyota. They all have the same specs. There's no advantage over each other. It's going to be an even playing field. Pit strategy for 50 laps, you're not going to be able to make it on fuel. You're going to have to come down at some point for service, and also you only sit on 2 quick fixes. That is, if you come into the pits with some damage 2 times, iRacing will give you a brand new car like it just came out of the shop. You want to be able to conserve those. You don't want to use them up early because, as we've seen in the past year, guys, these super speedway races can go downhill for some people in a hurry.
Yeah, they sure can. All right, Joe, why don't we run through the grid, starting with yourself on the, just run through the grid. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Donny Giratano does start on pole with Rodney Wofford beginning the outside of the front row. Brandon Chibirko starts third with Shane McKeechan in fourth. Then Frank Busilia sits in fifth with Ron Thompson on the outside of the third row in sixth. Dana Osborne starts seventh with Cody Dutton in eighth, Rod Flagg in ninth, and Dan Harrington begins in 10th.
Evan?
Yeah, Greg Hooks at 98 is going to start in P11. Chad Peterson outside of row 6. That's going to be the number 12 spot. Brandon Cattell joins back tonight. He'll be starting 13th. Jared Haggerty outside him in 14th position. David Shipman at 15 in 15th position. Jimmy Todd, the 18, will start alongside him in P16. The 008 of Kent Connolly is going to rank up P17. Alongside him, 18th, Dennis Wright. Ramon Evans, 19th. And Jason Altman's going to round out the top 20.
And the pace car is now coming around to number 3. And we will have a start very, very soon. A very good-looking field here, Evan.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of cars here. We saw the guys, working with each other in big packs, 2-3 wide in the warm-up, getting set. 50 laps is a little bit of a longer distance than some of the previous races, so we'll see what these guys can get going here. But the key is going to be to survive, so let's see if these guys take it easy here at the start or how long they wait till they start going 2-3 wide.
Well, as we know, these guys, it's not going to be long. As we see the pace car ducking into the pit area right now. Donny Garatano has control of the field. The green flag has flown. Special rules are in place, of course. So Donny Garatano, straight away we have 2 lines forming. Donny Garatano takes off. Alongside him we do have Rodney Wofford, and a nice clean start as they get up to speed there, Joe.
Yeah, everybody just kind of shuffling around at this point, first lap, so there's no need to be really hasty. Just try and find your position, get yourself in a line that you think is going to move forward and stay out of trouble. I think, like Evan was saying earlier, the key here is just trying to, keep out of the mix in the first half and try and stay away from the chaos.
And Evan, we see the 7 and the 44 on the outside there. Just getting ready to try something, although we now see the 3 moving outside as well. from Donny Garantano. Is that the 3? May not be. But anyway, good racing at this point in time. Everybody's settling into the race.
Yeah, that was Jabirko on the outside in the 3, and now he slots down in the first position ahead of the number 2 of Donny Garantano. So lead change up front on lap 2 already, Evan.
Yeah, that 3 machine went up high, ducked down in line. That's not an uncharacteristic move. That's Brandon Jabirko. He likes to be able to go outside. He's not afraid of it. He likes to make moves, and that's going to get him up to the number 1 spot. The first car outside is the 94. That's Frank Busilia. As you mentioned, Risper, the 7 is out there. That's Rodney Wofford. Those are the first 2 cars on the outside lane, but the inside has an advantage by about 2 cars, this time by the stripe Jabirko up front.
Yeah, just having a look at the action there up front. Going further back, we see the 23 car of Rod Flag in 8th place at this point in time, doing the usual Rod Flag thing there, Evan, just waiting for things to come his way.
And he's second in the championship standings now, only 4 points back from Jabirko. So while Brandon's up there driving hard, Rod Flag just kind of wants to pace himself and get solid finishes. We've seen that drivers like Frank Busilia, Brandon Jabirko, they get comfortable, they start making moves. Well, last week that bit Frank Busilia, and that's how he lost so many positions. So Rod Flag playing it the more strategic way. He's just riding around. He's the 5th car in line on the bottom. That puts him about P10.
Yep, and we are on lap number 3 of 50, just starting lap number 4 now, actually. We do have the outside lane starting to move up on the inside and trying to take away positions. Frank Busilia is in fact in that red car that I'm looking at now. I might be colorblind a little bit, but I think it's red. And he has now just pipped Brandon Jabirko, and he's moved into the number 1 place at this point in time. Brandon will have none of it. He holds and hugs that yellow line, and with Donny Garantano behind him, a very, very able companion, is able to retake the first place with Donny sitting in second. Frank Busilia needs some more help from the number 7 to try and get a position there. Are we on a caution? Am I hearing caution?
Yeah, the 99 and the 83 looks like they had trouble in the try over there, Joe.
Yeah, I'm watching that replay myself right now, and it looks like the 83 got a little bit of help from behind and it sent him back, and it sounds like we're going to get the replay up.
Yeah, the replay is coming up there. We can see the action as we see the 34 behind the 53, I think it is, and there the action. He tried to push him, and he just got him a little bit skew there, Evan, and that caused the problem.
Yeah, and that's the reason why they implemented the rule that they should not be pushing in the trial. It's interesting to see that, but the 54 just moved up just the slightest bit, and it took the air off that 83 in the back end, got loose, got up in the air, and came down the track. The 99 was an innocent victim in that. The 5 did a good job of getting around that. Josh Hanner had to make some evasive action, but quickly under our first yellow, only about 2-3 cars involved as it was towards the back of the pack.
And you have to feel for poor Josh Hanner because he didn't completely avoid it. He slammed into the number 83 of Ramon Evans after pretty much all had seemed like it unfolded ahead of him. And yet you have to feel like, you're in the back of the pack. I can try and slow down and avoid. I don't have to worry about everybody else behind me checking up and get out of everything. And yet he still runs into trouble from dead last and almost dead last in the field.
Yeah, look, when you have an accident up front, sometimes it's take your best guess to know where to go. And unfortunately, we did see quite a few cars involved there. They will get down into the pit area, and no doubt they will grab a fresh car and come out and fight once again. But that is our first caution for the night, Evan. Brandon Jabirko, as usual, staying out front and trying to stay out of trouble. Donny Garantano, very strong behind him there. Frank Busilia, a difference from last week, is staying up there with them now.
Yeah, he's coming off of a rough week, and what that does is he's been sitting up at the top of the championship standings for the last handful of weeks, the majority of this second half of the season. So the fact that he now finds himself not only knocked out of the lead, as a couple of our leaders fake first car coming down pit road is going to be Cody Dutton, I believe. But not only the fact that he lost the championship lead, but he's already 14 points back. That's a significant amount of points, considering right now there's only 23 drivers on track. So Vasily is doing what he needs to do. He's riding up front right now in P3. But if Chaburko stays where he is, he's not going to be able to gain any points because Brandon Chaburko, although the 3 machine is very aggressive, that's his strategy of staying out of trouble. His mentality is the safest place on a racetrack is going to be the number 1 spot, because if anybody wrecks, if it's not me, I'm going to be out in front and clear of it. So that's one of the issues that Rod Flag has to think about. Again, Rod Flag, the closest challenger in the points, only 4 points back at Chaburko. He was minding his own business, riding around on the inside, but he's right in that mid-pack area where if something happens in front of him, he really has nowhere to go and could be an innocent victim of that, much like that 5 of Josh Hanner was in that first yellow.
Yeah, but we did see, I think it was last week at Talladega, where in fact the problems were right at the front of the pack in the very, very last lap. So anything can happen, and usually does with this group of drivers. Great drivers though they are. I mean, when you're fighting that hard for a place in the championship, when you're fighting that hard to win a race, there are dollars at stake, real dollars. There's a trophy at stake. These guys are not going to give up anything very, very easily. So at the moment, we have Brandon Chaburko, who did not come down into pit lane, and he's staying out there. Donny Garatano, who helped him so well in the first stint, still there with him. And on the second row, we will have on the restart Frank Basilia the third. And Rodney Wofford in the number 7 car is also out there, followed by the others. So at this stage, we have a caution. The lights are still on the pace car, so we will have at least another lap, maybe 2, before we have a restart. So Joe, this is close to the end of the championship. These guys have got to be feeling now that everything is at stake.
Oh, definitely. And this is where you start to separate, the old colloquialism, the men from the boys. The guys that are able to hold their nerves, to keep a cool head in these situations, they're the ones that are come out to the front. The guys like Rod Flag that can be in the thick of the pack, which, traditionally is sort of the, oh, this is where I don't want to be sort of situation. And yet every single race, he always seems to find his way to the front and be able to consistently score those points. Those are the guys that you're going to see come to the fore in the championship late in the season. They know how to do this style of racing. They know their way around the ins and outs of it, and they'll use it to their advantage around the other guys who kind of fall apart.
Yeah, correct. And Evan, I must think about last season. If you remember that Frank Basilia, who won last season, was the champion last season. He hardly won a race until near the end of the season. So what Joe is saying there is really, really on the money, because these guys, as long as you're up near the front, you have every chance of winning. And this might be, who knows, this might be Rod Flag's season.
Yeah, Rod, who's sitting second in the championship standings, he does have 1 win, but I haven't seen that 23 team running to what I would think he would need to be, the consistency that he needs in the second half of the season if he wants to get that championship. He does have 1 win, but that was back on race number 2. This is race 9 at 12, so he really hasn't been up there and gotten a win in the second half of the season. I think if he can do that, that'll give him a huge momentum boost, and we can really take him as one of the top series contenders. But it's going to be hard to beat Brandon Chaburko, but it's this super speedway racing, guys. Anything can happen.
Yeah, just some trivia. I was watching Brandon Chaburko in the iRacing Championship. Brandon, of course, is a pro racer and does race. And the green flag is coming up to us. Caught me out by surprise, guys. Brandon Chaburko does lead them away. The 94 of Frank Basilia now tucks in behind him. And then we've got the 4 behind them on the inside lane. On the outside lane, Donny Garatano now has to get a partner, and he does get a new partner in the form of, I believe that is the 7 of Rodney Wofford. So these guys are now starting off the second stint, Evan, and let's hope that we can get a few more green flag laps than last time.
And you can really see there that Rod Flag is trying to take it easy because the 44 of Ron Thompson pushed up off the bottom and a little bit down the back straightaway. And Rod could have easily stuck a nose in there, and that would have forced the 3 wide, and maybe the 44 would have seen him come across the nose and could have created big issues. But Rod Flag just dragged the brakes a little bit, allowed that 44 back in line. It cost him a little bit of time, Rod, that is. He was 6 by the stripe, but he's still with that lead draft. So Rod Flag definitely taking the, don't want to say conservative because he is running up there with the lead draft, but taking a more conscious approach to this race. It is the 2 and the 7 on the outside. That's Donnie Giratano and Rodney Wofford. They're going to bump draft that at 2. They're going to get a huge run down the back straightaway. Does that 2 clear the 3? And will he dive in line? Yes, he does. He's going to leave Rodney Wofford out hanging in the 3.
That is so characteristic of Frank Basilia. If he gets ahead, he will dive into the number 1 spot on the inside. He's done it many times before. We have seen that. So now he leaves, unfortunately, his partner in Rodney Wofford just sitting there. But I don't think Rodney will be too concerned as we see Dana Osborne coming up on the outside now. He will join up with the number 7 there of Rodney Wofford. And these guys can hopefully have a go at trying to get to the front. But Joe, that's what's happening at the front. What's happening around the back?
Well, Don Artman is one that's having a bad day of sorts. He's already a lap down, and about a lap ago, coming out of the tri-oval, took a nice big slap into the outside wall. So that car has been steadily dropping back. Definitely not the day that they wanted. Chad Peterson's just a little bit behind them. Still on the lead lap, though, in that 20th position for the number 37.
Oh, and we just have Dana Osborne up against the wall there, Evan. He just got loose, hit the wall, slammed into the wall, actually, and now he's losing position after position, and we see an accident up ahead of him.
Big
we're
trouble.
looking at, I just missed that car there. Whoa, many drivers involved in this one. This is a big one, Evan.
Yeah, caution is going to fly, and I wanted to make a quick point. The damage that Don Artman got was actually, there was a wreck off that green flag towards the back of the back. It didn't bring out the yellow, and that involved Cody Dutton. The 08 machine got damaged from that, and that's how he was 22 seconds off pace. But this incident looks like a 3-wide battle gone wrong. The 57 in the middle lane, and that's Jared Haggerty, just went way too high. The 33 was all the way up against the fence, and the 57 still went into him. And guys, just like it always seems, the car that causes it, which is evidently the 57, is the one that drives away scot-free, and it's everybody else that piles in behind him. Looks like the 83, the 33, the 98, the 15, the 18, the 5, at least 6-7 cars down there in 1 and 2.
Yeah, lots of them. And unfortunately, trying to go 3 wide at Daytona is not quite the same as going 3 wide at Talladega. And he misjudged the gap there and got into the 33 car who was up near the wall. And that was really the cause of it all. And with the car spinning in front of the guys behind, there was multiple accidents, multiple contacts between cars. And we have our second caution on the day. And we are currently on lap number 12 or 13. A bunch of cars in the pits, lots of smoke, lots of damage that I can see. Certainly some guys sitting there for quite some time now. I'm looking at Larry Kemp. So he's already, by the looks of it, taken his free cars because he's just sitting there. And other guys who are still out there are our front runners once again. Donnie Garatano's out there, Brandon Chaburko's out there, Frank Basilia's out there. So there is certainly advantage to be taken and had by staying up front, no doubt about it, Joe.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to stay out of that trouble like you saw before. But, we saw last week at Talladega, the wrecks can happen up at the very front, and then nobody is safe. We saw a number of front runners, including Frank Busilia. Remember, he was the championship leader before last race finished, and now he's lost that position because he kept running into trouble up front, of all places.
Yeah, indeed. Evan, interesting move there. Brandon Chaburko ducks into pit lane. Doesn't take tires, but certainly obviously took some fuel there, so that might be all he needs to go to the end of lap number 50 with what he's got right there.
I think he'd be banking on a little bit more of caution laps in order to do so, but the way this race has started, It seems that it's the middle portion of the race, the beginning portion of the race, we're going to see those green flag runs. If they get hindered by a couple of cautions, you might not just be able to avoid them because you're not really going to get enough time to get spread out. So that'll cycle Cheburko back a little bit in the field, guys. Interesting enough to note, we only have 22 drivers now on track because Don Armand, the 99, who we were talking about his misfortunes, was actually disqualified from the race from race control because he wasn't even supposed to be in the race. I guess he did not meet the cutoff to be main and joined into the race either from miscommunication or something there, but a 99 was not supposed to start the race, so he'll finish unofficially 23rd, but officially there's only a 22 car race tonight.
Yeah, well, they do have live administrators on this race, and these guys do take action if they do need to. Brandon Cheburko, having gone into the pits, very interesting from my point of view here. He comes out in 5th place, so that's not far off the lead at all. And I think that other guys, having noted what he's done, may well duck into the pits now. I see Donny Garetano on the apron there, thinking about pitting. Maybe he's faking. We shall see. But I'm pretty sure these guys will think about what Brandon's done. Brandon is the form driver in the series, and they may well follow his lead. But on this particular lap, they don't do that, Joe. So they're faking each other out at the moment.
Yeah, and we're only, 15 laps now into this 50-lap race, so they're still very early on. I mean, they could maybe get a bit of an advantage that they could work their way up to the front later on if they're pitting this early, but I don't know. That's a little while to, especially on a restart, to be trying to work your way through some of this mess. So we'll see how that works out for them. They are going to be, however, Evan, on older tires at the end.
Yeah, and at a super speedway, it's not the most key factor. However, we have seen times where somebody late in the going, when things are getting really chaotic, are going to really try to make a sharp move. And we have seen times where going into that transition, the left-hander into the tri-oval, somebody tries to jump out to the outside lane, makes that abrupt movement of right to left on the wheel, and because of a little bit of worn tires, they've actually spun out from it. So it's not as key at super speedways, but it could play into a factor depending on how aggressive things get down the road.
Well, that's correct. And the lights are out on the pace car now as they go down the backstretch. Donny Garetano is in charge of this race at the moment. On his outside will be the 94 machine of Frank Basilia III. Dan Harrington, pardon me, is sitting in 3rd place. The number 82 finding himself in 3rd place. Ken Connolly on his outside in the 008 machine in 4th place, and Brandon Cheburko in 5th place. What will Brandon do when we have the restart? Will he just tuck in behind? Will he go to the outside and make a move early on? We will see. Rodney Wofford in the number 7 machine on the outside there, the 44 on the inside in 7th place. So Rod Flag has now been shuffled back a little bit to 8th place, but I do believe, Evan, his car was not involved in any of the wrecks we've had so far. And we have the pace car ducking out there. Donny Garetano takes the green flag, starts applying the power to the machine, and they take off on the outside. Frank Basilia, who is actually a little bit ahead of him right now. We should see Frank Basilia ducking inside if he can get it. He is ahead. He should really be able to. Now he can't do it now. Donny Garetano.
We've got a car at the bottom of the track. That's Brandon Cattell.
Brandon Cattell is a previous winner, and where is he at this point
he
in
went
time?
around.
I put a camera on him. He's got some damage. He's running very slowly, so he's obviously had contact with another car there, Joe.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what exactly happened. Just out of the corner of my eye, I saw a car slap in the wall, and it looks like it happened just coming into turn 1, and he just weaved into the wall mysteriously. I have no idea what happened.
Well, it could have been an issue that is outside of his control. Sometimes your internet connection can do things like that to you. We hope that he's okay. He should be able to get into the pits and get another car if he has any left. But back to the front there, Evan, where we see Donny Garetano with Dan
we've
Harrington.
got a wreck. The 008 of Ken Connolly.
Yes, 008 car is down on the apron. on the backstretch there, trying to get his car back in.
Oh, Jason
Didn't quite
Altman's
see what
also.
happened there. Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, Jason Altman's involved as well. That's from 3 wide, and it looks like the 83 machine got a little bit squirrely off the corner, who was in the middle, and that was Ramon Evans, who was sitting 1 lap down, came down and just hooked that 97 of Jason Altman's. Altman's clipped the left rear of that 008 machine, which is where we saw Kent Connolly go around. But the 83 of Ramon Evans also went around. A couple more cars involved. Looked like the 18 was in it, the 83, and the 5 machine, or rather the 15 of David Schutma just gets around it. So we're slowing down for yellow, but I heard a couple of guys come with the radio. Looks like a couple of guys nearly got into it under the caution flag as people were checking up in front of them.
Yep, and we are now on caution number 3 in this 50-lap race. We are only on lap 18, so the attrition is high in this particular race. I wonder why that is. We've seen races where there have been lots of cautions, and I must say, not perhaps above average, but certainly a number of cautions, and I just don't get it. This track is wide enough to accommodate at least 2 lanes. Risky to go 3 wide, I believe, Evan. This is not Talladega. You don't have those 4 specifically marked lanes. Here you actually only have a lower area or an inside area and an outside area, and it's kind of split half and half. So you would imagine 2 lanes is about all that you can accommodate here.
Yeah, if you roll up there and park these cars, you can park them 4 wide with lots of room. Now, when you're going 120, that's a completely different story. 2 wide is the safe game. 3 wide, you can do it. These guys can do it. They're super speedway drivers, so when they do it week in and week out, they can do it with rather success, but it's a lot harder to do it than at Talladega. Talladega has those lines that you can use as reference. There's only a couple of white hash marks. They're more towards the top of the racetrack here at Daytona. So Talladega is more accommodating for 3 wide. I've even seen 4 wide at Talladega, but Daytona, it is a lot more condensed. So a lot of drivers prefer Talladega over Daytona because it gives them that much more room. And we've seen that since there's the limited space available here tonight, that it's caused a couple of incidents, especially off the corner. Again, they don't have those white lines like Talladega does to really judge, where they are on the racetrack off of. So that's how you can see somebody just drift up a little bit, drift down a little bit, and evidently cause a spin.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And our director has given us several replays, some great action there of everything that has been happening. At this moment, Joe, 3 cautions, lap 18, you're starting to think that maybe Brandon Jaberko made the right call.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like it. And honestly, the only 2 cars yet to pit are Donnie Giarratano and Dan Harrington sitting up front there. So I don't know if they're going to duck in this time by. I think the pits were closed last time, so finally they should be allowed to. But they're going to get sent to the back of the pack. So I think there was a very smart strategic call from some of these other guys.
Yeah. And whilst we are on a break, Joe, do you want to talk a little bit about our social media aspect to GSRC?
Absolutely. Once again, you can follow us on Facebook, and that is at facebook.com Global Sim Racing Channel, and on Twitter at GSR Channel. And you can tweet us live during the race, and we try to answer questions for that.
Thank you, Joe. So back to the action, or the non-action, Evan, in reality, because we are on a caution at this point in time. Donnie Giarratano, I'm liking the looks of this guy here tonight, Evan.
Yeah, he's sitting right now P1. If you look at it, you can see there's 1 car in front of him on track. That is Brandon Cattell, who is the last car on the lead lap. So he'll be taking a wave by when the lights go off in a pace car, and he'll cycle back up to the back of the field. He's the last car on the lead lap, which makes us 18 cars on the lead lap. But Donnie is not mathematically out of the chase for the championship. He does sit 4th entering tonight. He has 22 points back, however, yet to walk away with the trip to victory lane, guys. He does have 4 top 5 finishes out of 8 starts, so 50% of the time he's inside that top 5, but has not been able to translate it to a win yet. So maybe tonight will be the night that we see Giarratano get to victory lane, and maybe that will give him the momentum needed if he wants to make a run for the championship here late.
Yeah, and talking about the results to date, there have been several winners. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 winners in this particular series. Brandon Jaberko won twice in races number 1 and race number 7. That's 2 races ago. Frank Basilia has 2 wins as well in race number 3 and 6. And Rod Flag has had 1 win in race number 2. He'd love to put another one on the board, I'm sure. Brandon Cattell, who is sitting just behind the pace car at the moment, actually a lap, he's on the lead lap, but last on the lead lap. He'll probably get the way by. He has had a win in this particular series so far. Mark Jorgensen and Jason Altman's last week have wins as well. So a bunch of guys up near the front of the field. Donny Garantano, as you mentioned, as well as a few others, have not yet had a win. Dana Osborne, always a strong runner, has not had a win yet. So these guys, perhaps tonight is their chance, Joe.
You never know. We keep talking about the fact that you just don't know what's going to happen in these super speedway races, but it's so true. I mean, you look at a week ago, we're used to these a little bit more caution riddled and finishing under yellow races, and yet last week we had one of the most thrilling last I want to say dozen lap green flag runs we'd ever seen, with just the position swapping all over. You couldn't tell who was going to wind up front until the very end, and even then it came with a pile up in the tri-oval. So it's these guys have got to be working the whole race, trying to go all the way to the end. You cannot give up hope until you get to that checkered flag.
Absolutely. Well, the pace car, the lights are out, and just running through our field just quickly. Donny Garantano, we've mentioned before, in charge of the restart. Dan Harrington in 82, running extremely well tonight on the outside in second place. Brandon Jaberko on the previous restart, he was 5th. On this restart, he is 3rd, looking ominous for the other guys. And we have a new face in 4th place, the number 44 of Ron Thompson. So he's up there right now. Jared Haggerty also in there. Cody Dutton, who was involved in a wreck earlier on, is in 6th place. Frank Basilia, the other one that we need to watch, Evan, he's currently back in 7th place. Not a position he would like at all. He doesn't race that well, I think, when he's mid-pack or behind.
He likes being up at front in the clean air, and he's not that far back. He's going to be on the inside of row number 4, so he can easily get up front if he can get hooked up with somebody here while everybody tries to sort themselves out. But definitely, again, he needs to be running better than 7th if he's going to be chasing down Donny Garantano, or rather Brandon Jaberko and Rod Flag at the championship, but also Garantano, who's going to be leading us to green, guys. Lights are off of the pace car, and we're getting set to take the green here.
Yes, and the pace car moves off down pit road, and the green flag will fly momentarily. There it goes, and they take off, and we have
Three wide.
37 from way back, shooting towards the front there, Evan. Very risky, but it may pay off for him. The 37 is, who is the 37? That is
Chad Peterson.
Chad Peterson, and he's moved all the way up into about 3rd or 4th place at this point in time. What a move.
Yeah, the 82 is going backwards. That's Dan Harrington. He restarted 2nd, and because of that, everybody out there, the outside lane called check up. Everybody got off the gas. They were checking up. 37 said, hey, I'm going to go to the outside lane. He made it 3 wide. He's up about side by side with the 44 of Ron Thompson. That's actually going to be 3 wide, 2 rows deep down in 3 and 4. He does have help. The 08 wants to give him a hand, but it looks like they're sliding backwards on the outside. Now they'll get hooked up off of corner number 4. They'll get a little bit of a bump draft, so we'll see where he is at the stripe. He restarted in 10th. He will be 10th at the line, so no advantage gained by Chad Peterson.
Oh, if I was Rodney Wofford right now, I'd be absolutely biting my fingernails if it weren't for the fact that
The L8
sliding backwards.
was just into the wall there, touched. He managed to hold it together, but he's lost multiple positions. I was about to say, Joe, as you were about to say, that pretty high-risk racing going on there.
Yeah, I was going to say Rodney Wofford lucked out that unfolded in a much safer way than I thought it was going to. He was in the middle of the second row of those two deep, 3 wide cars. And, I mean, he would literally have nowhere to go if something unfolded in front of him. And, in fact, right now he's kind of getting pushed around up through the tri-oval. but manages to stay out of it. His cars were getting a little bit squirrely right now. He's sitting behind the number 44 of Ron Thompson, it looks like, trying to see if they can get their way up through the field.
Yeah, there's a gap there for them to go down. At least the number 44 could go down. They elected to stay up high. The 7 of Rodney Wofford behind the 44. They still up high. They think they may have a run on the front guys there. Let's see if that pans out for them. The 23 of Rod Flag, meanwhile, closes that gap on the inner lane. And so everything kind of respectable at this point, Evan.
Single filed out rather quickly there. The top 10 are single file. First side-by-side battle is going to involve the 9th place machine, actually. Jason Altman's under attack from the 44 of Ron Thompson, and now in front of them side-by-side as Shane McEachin thinks about going to the outside. He'll duck back in line for a moment. He wants to stay out high. Does he do so? Yes, he does. That opens up the door for the 97 machine of Altman's. So it looks like that 28 machine is Shane McEachin. He wants to work with the 44. 44 and now trouble back in the pack. Caution flag and a fly. Trying to get a number on that machine, but back under yellow.
Yes, we have another caution. Joe, did you see what happened there? I was watching Brandon Jaburko at that point.
You know, I can't seem to find a car around, so I'm not entirely sure what unfolded.
Oh, it looks like maybe in turns 1 and 2, trying to get a number on that car.
It's Larry Camp.
Larry Camp it is, just by himself going around. Other cars managed to pass him. That's the 33 car of Larry Kemp. He does get going again down on the apron, and we see that on replay. But the caution flag has come out for the fact that he was on the track when he was spinning. So we will have our 4th caution of the day.
So that actually finally figured it out. It kicked off way back in the tri-oval. He got 2 wheels onto the flat there, and that just kind of started to get the car loose, and the back end was trying to come around as they exited the tri-oval, and he took a hugely fast ride across the infield grass and pavement, and as you said, eventually, as he tried to recover it in turns 1 and 2, spun it around. So a bit of a non-event of a caution. Thankfully, there's only 1 car involved.
Well, we are on caution number 4, and I think it might be appropriate for us to take a short break. Back soon, folks. Welcome back, folks, to Daytona. And we are currently running on lap number 28 out of 50. So just past the halfway mark. We should have a restart after the next time by. The lights on the pace car are still on. So guys, let's just run through the standings at the moment. Likely to change, of course, on the restart, but currently Donny Garetano, he's led a lot of laps, Evan, so he's still in charge of the race at the moment.
Yeah, Gaetano sits in the number 1 spot. Brandon Chaburko has inched back up. He's in the number 2 position. Jared Haggerty runs 3rd. Frank Busilia's improved. He's in a top 4 position right now. Dana Osborne is in 5th. Dan Harrington 6th. Greg Hooks in 7th. Shane McEachin runs in 8th position. Jason Altmans has kind of cycled back up to the number 9 spot. And Ron Thompson, Joe, rounds out the top 10 as they run right now.
Yeah, and it's looking like a lot of familiar names up there at this point. Now that we're getting a little bit, we're past halfway actually. I think these guys that tend to run up front are the ones that are making their way back up there. I'm very curious to see what Frank is going to do, if he's going to try and be aggressive and get up to the front like Richard keeps saying. He likes to be up in that clean air, or if maybe he's just going to settle on the second row and just kind of push for a while, see how things unfold, because he's lost that championship lead, and I want to know if he's going to be in a hurry to try and get that back, or if he thinks, well, let's just try and get a solid finish and try and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, it's we're on board currently with Frank Basilia, seeing as how you've mentioned his name there, Joe. Chaburko and Basilia, these are numbers 1 and 2 in the championship for a long period of time. That's changed slightly now with Rod Flag kind of dividing the two of them. But these two have been battling it out at the top of the championship for quite some time. I don't think that Frank Basilia will play a waiting game. He likes to lead from the front. He likes to be right up there, as does Brandon Chaburko. Donny Garetano, he's led most of the laps of this race, but he has not looked as if he was, confident and able to maintain that. The other guys could almost take over whenever they wanted. As we see the pace car coming out of the final turn, he will go into the pits in a moment. Or maybe it's a she driving the pace car. We don't know. Maybe there's no driver driving the pace car. This is sim racing after all. The pace car does duck in right now. Donny Garetano in charge of the race takes the green flag. Takes a very good restart there from Donny. And on his outside, Brandon Chaburko. Frank Basilia now ducks to the inside and causes a problem.
The
way was not clear there, and
we've got more wrecks with Jason Altman's involved in that. A number of people. Ken Connolly's in there. That looks like that was kind of the leftovers of what happened before. As trying to see who that was, and the great.
It looks like Dana Osborne, when that 94 Busilia kind of tried to get back in line and cut across his nose, it slowed that 8 down, and he was right on that double yellow line, which you guys know is not going to work into the corner, so he tried to slide back up, and it looks like the 44 in the middle catches the 98 because the 98 Greg Hooks maybe tried to make some evasive action to make room for Osborne, and that put that 44 of Ron Thompson in the wall. Guys, Rod Flag involved in this one as well. And again, another big one, down into 1 and 2, fresh off of a restart when the field is most densely packed.
Yeah, just looking at Rod Flag's car at the moment, he is in pit lane. In fact, he's in his pit stall. He has exited from his car at this point in time. I think his day is done. The car looked very, very badly damaged there. But guys, you've got to put that one certainly on Frank Basilia. He must have heard from his spotter that there was a gap and he was clear, but clearly he was not clear. Dana Osborne was right there. He came across the nose of Dana Osborne, touched him on the left-hand side, and that caused the chain reaction and the wreck, and now we are on a caution.
Yeah, as I was kind of watching that unfold, I was thinking the same thing, that moving down that early into that small of a gap, that That is just a little bit too aggressive. And boy, he got really lucky. I'm trying to see if he actually hit the inside
He
wall.
was
Looks
able
like he
to
didn't.
keep it off. Yeah, he turned
Yeah.
that wheel to the left, so a good driving move in that regards because it spun the car back around. So it's not the first time tonight, guys, we've seen the car that causes the incident drive right on away, and it's the 8 cars behind him that can take it out in it.
Exactly. He got away lucky that, that wreck continued to unfold after him. I don't think he would have gotten a caution if it was just himself spinning in grass. So Frank is a little bit farther down in the field, but with, let's see, about 19, 18 laps to go, he's got time to try and get back up there.
Yeah, he might well do that, but he has lost the position that he loves and favors, which is up near the front, 1 or 2 or possibly 3. We were talking about him just previously before the restart, and we said that he doesn't like to hang around. He wanted to get down onto the inside line early as possible, did not have a clear gap there, tried to do it anyway. And you see that so many times in this type of racing where the spotter tells you you're clear and in fact you're not clear. Do not believe the spotter all the time. Have a look around you. But, he's at fault for having caused the problem, but it may not actually be something that he had control over. His spotter may have been the thing that caused the problem there.
Yeah,
Anyway,
there's sometimes the spotter will tell you that you're clear, and these guys have the ability to have an actual spotter, somebody else in the sim that's spotting for them, but they can also use the iRacing default spotter. If you're using the default spotter, he can say you're clear, but by the time you move down, again, Busilia really didn't move down very fast. He kind of tiptoed down. And I do believe when he started to make that move, the spot was there. He just didn't get over in time. He was trying to be a little bit more cautious. And by the time he actually got down to the bottom lane, again, that nose was there and turned him right around.
See, Richard, I think he might have had the Australian spotter on. He was just speaking too slow for him to react quick enough.
Yeah, you want to get with the Jimmy Johnson spotter. He's fast and furious, and he swears at you if you do it wrong as well. Anyway, guys, we are on a caution once again. Donny Garetano, miracle drive for him tonight. He stays up there in the number 1 position. The other positions have changed behind him, Evan, a number of times, but he's managed to hang on to that number 1 position throughout all the cautions, and I believe we're on caution number 5 now, or possibly number 6.
The biggest changes you have to notice is Frank Busilia now finds himself in, actually scoring the inside of 3, he's going to be 14th, but also Rod Flag. Remember how he talked about he was trying to be conservative, he was being very courteous to the other drivers, gets innocently caught up in that, guys. He entered tonight 4 points back at Jaburko, and much like we saw Busilia last week when he lost so much ground, Rod Flag is trapped 1 lap down back in 20th position. If you see that 3 at Jaburko at least have a solid top 10 finish, that's really going to hurt Rod Flag here as far as championship hopes.
But the good news is, I thought that Rod Flag had actually exited from his car. He may have done that momentarily, but he is back. He's back on track as well. He's down in 20th position. He's trying to make up some pace now. He's flat out trying to catch up with the other cars, but he's still in the race. And Joe, you never give up. If you're in the race, you have a chance.
Yeah, and I believe they have the lucky dog in this series. So Rod is currently sitting just behind Ramon Evans, who is also a lap down. So if he can get his nose ahead of Ramon and they have another caution, he's going to be back on that lead lap and he's going to be back into this race. So yeah, absolutely never give up. Even sometimes you can be multiple laps down. We've had enough cautions in this series. If you can get lucky enough, try and work your way back up. You just never know.
Well, that's right. And we are on lap 32. So the laps are running out, Evan. 18 laps left. Some of them caution laps as well. So he's got to make up a lap. So it doesn't look good at this stage, but we have seen stranger things happen. And who knows? Frank Busilia in the 94 car. He's in 14th place. He's not going to like that. and look for Frank Wasilia to make some very aggressive moves to try and get back closer to the front. The championship, of course, is on the line. Jason Altman's last week's winner in the 97 machine way back as well. So Jared Haggerty now in second place behind Donny Garantano. Brandon Cheberko, the old pro, or maybe the young pro, still up there, Evan, and still looking good as the championship winds down.
Yeah, Rod Flag is only going to have to deal with Ramon Evans. Brandon Cattell was scored one lap down, but the 80 machine is actually retired, taking it behind the wall. His night is done. So Ramon's going to be starting at number 83 machine on the outside and one row in front of Rod Flag. So Rod Flag can see the car that he needs to be in front of. And again, as soon as the yellow would fly, and you have to anticipate there's going to be at least another yellow the way the race has gone so far. Plus the fact that with less races means guys are going to get even more aggressive than they have been before. If you're Rod Flag, you hope that inside lane gets going, and you're able to just have a nose in front of the 83 like Joe said, and he'll be back on the lead lap, and who knows what can happen from that point.
Well, that's right. So currently in front of him, Ramon Evans. You would imagine that he might be able to get around Ramon. Let me just have a look. So Rod Flag currently on the inside, Ramon Evans on the outside in the 83. So it looks like Rod Flag may be able to get around him. This is all speculation, folks, because Rod Flag, there has to then be another caution before the end of the race. So Rod Flag can get the lucky dog way by and get back on the lead lap. That will still put him last on the lead lap, so he's got a lot of work to do. Back at the front, Donny Garantano running the race of his life, I think, tonight, Evan, because he's done a magnificent job managing to just stay clean, stay at the front, hugging that inside lane, don't give it up for anything.
He's trying to get that first trip to victory lane as the pace car gets set to dive down to the safety of pit road. Two cars going to be in control. The 57 of Haggerty on the outside, and we're green, and it's going to be the 3 of Cheberko is going to hook up with Donny Garantano. They're going to try to check out on that inside lane, already pushing at it to try over.
Yep, and on the outside you have the 57 of Jared Haggerty. Behind him, Shane McKeechan, who's come from way back to find himself on lap 35 in 4th or 5th place. We have the 82 on the inside there, Dan Harrington, running an excellent race tonight, and he is in 5th place. Dana Osborne is still in there, Chad Peterson, but on the outside lane at the moment, up front, we do have Jared Haggerty and Shane McKeechan making a challenge. Joe, what's happening around the rear of the field?
Well, just as I suspected, Ramon Evans, I believe, has some leftover damage. He used both his spare cars, so Rod Flag was quickly past him as Ramon continues to slip back. And right now, Rod's just chilling in the back of the pack. Probably a smart thing to do, just if something unfolds, get on the brakes and back it up, because he doesn't need to go any farther up at this point.
Yes, indeed. Ramon Evans still out there, but falling back very, very quickly from the rest of the pack at the moment. However, the good news for Rod Flag is that he's got what looks like a brand new car, so he's keeping up no problem. He now moves to the outside. We're keeping an eye on Rod Flag. The reason being that he is the number 2 position in the championship. He's got everything to fight for, as Evan, they're all kind of single file now, and only sort of mid-pack we have a second lane forming.
Yeah, we're 2 wide about mid-pack from 10th on back. We were actually 3 wide for a moment. You see the 94 of Busili is actually on the inside not too long ago. He was the sole car on the outside, that 3rd lane, just trying to make up whatever positions he can. 54 of Dennis Wright goes out to the outside behind Dana Osborne. That's actually going to cost him some spots as the 08 of Cody Dutton tries to hook up with that 8 machine. And side by side up in this lead pack as the top handful of cars trying to pull away just a little bit. Shane McKeechan on the outside doesn't really have any help, so just keeping that nose in the clean air, trying to keep the engine temps down, and he'll pull back in behind the 37, Chad Peterson.
Yeah, Joe, if you look at it, there's only about 150 meters from 1st to about 17th. So all the lead lap cars are within almost spitting distance of each other. It just takes a small incident to make up multiple positions or lose multiple positions.
And not only that, you talk about losing multiple positions. Dennis Wright, who I think we mentioned earlier, went from 9th to 14th on that lap after he dropped to that outside line and surprised the 008 of Kent Conley a little bit, trying to duck in line. But now he's got a little bit of a partner, and they're working their way back up if they can. Meanwhile, looks like we got a bit of a too wide farther up in the field, and I'm trying to see who that gray car is on the outside there.
Oh, contact! The 8 machine, Dana Osborne in the tri-oval, and there's going to be a couple cars. If they're yellow, the cars that spin are off the racing surface. It looks like we'll stay green, guys, but that got real ugly down the tri-oval. The 08 went 3 wide and hooked that 82, and it's going to be Dana Osborne. Looks like the 82 and the 5 are the two that are going to go off track. The 97 also, Jason Altman's in the grass, but we stay green as none of that was up on the racing surface once those cars got turned around.
Well, that is quite amazing. We are watching the replay of that incident there. We've got the 82 of Dan Harrington involved, Dana Osborne, the 8, who's been involved in a couple of incidents now tonight, and not good. The 82 car looks very, very damaged. But as you say, Evan, no caution. So anybody was hoping for a caution, somebody such as Rod Flagg, didn't get it. And we are on lap 39 out of 50 with only 11 laps to go. Donny Garantano, in fact, is on lap 40. We see smoke in front of Donny, and he won't be too concerned by that. The car's on the apron. He is leading this race. Jared Haggerty behind him. It's all single file. The number 7 of Rodney Wofford now in 3rd place. Brandon Chaberko on the outside with the 28 of Shane McKeechan. These guys challenging for the lead now, so the action is still hot up the front there, Evan.
Yeah, Brandon Chaberko wants to make it win number 3 on the season for the number 3 Chevrolet team. He goes to the outside lane. He knows that both of his contenders in the championship are running with a little bit of issues that they've had tonight. The 57 slides high, the 3 pinches him down. That's real close in 1 and 2, but the 28 of McKeechan seems a little bit too far off at Chaberko in order to get to his bumper here. So the 3 still using a run. That's because the 2 and the 57 are not pushing on the inside lane. But guys, right now it's a 6-horse race because 7th on back are about 4 seconds plus out of this lead battle.
And the 37 car of Chad Peterson is in there as well. He's kind of in 6th place, 5th, 6th place at the moment. The battle is very, very fierce now because the laps are winding down. What everybody's fighting for here, Joe, is to get to the lead. If there's a caution, you want to be in the lead. As we see the 7 go down, Rodney Wofford go down momentarily onto the apron, but it was on the flat section of the tri-oval, so he gets away with that. Shane McKeechan has fallen off from Brandon Chaberko a little bit. Donny Garantano and his partner Jared Haggerty still in there. Jared Haggerty should be pushing a bit harder, and Shane McKeechan should also be pushing a bit harder down the straightaways. They're not doing that now. They go into the turns where you're not allowed to push, and everybody has to maintain position. Donny Garantano hanging on for dear life onto that number 1 position, Evan.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get real close. It's down to the final laps. If this gets to about 4 to go and a caution flies, that will end the race because there are no green-white checkers in iRacing, so keep tabs on that as we work lap number 43. Chaberko, for the first time, he has a nose in front of the 2. Shane McKeechan's going to set up for the push. I think they're going to get it here, guys. At a corner number 2, they get hooked up at the outside. Chaberko is clear. Does he wait for Shane McKeechan to get clear, or will he abandon him on the outside lane? Down in the 3, he waited. He doesn't have enough time. Chaberko's going to leave the 28 out to dry.
And Joe, just a note on Frank Basilia. He is way back. He's got some help from the number 15 there in David Schietema, but these guys are too far back to have any impact on this race. So at this point in time, we'll go back to the number 7, which is Rodney Wofford. These are the guys that are going to finish up front if this stays green. And there's a big fight going on the outside. Brandon Chaberko has taken the lead position. Donny Garantano has slotted in behind him. The 57 of Jared Haggerty and the number 7 of Rodney Wofford are in 3rd and 4th. The 28 and the 37 making a move on the outside, trying to get up to the front there. Can they make it work for them, Evan?
Yeah, the 28 again, he got left out to try. He's going to need that 37, Chad Peterson, to give him some help if they want to be able to make up any sort of ground. That time by 6 laps to go. You see that 2 slides up, gets real close because that outside lane, they're going to be pinching those guys on the bottom down, trying to get whatever side draft they can, and when they do that, you see real close there for P3. Even a little bit of netcode could play into effect, and you could hook that guy on the inside into the wall real hard and destroy a lot of cars very quickly. So it's a really thin rope that you gotta walk to see as those guys on the inside try to push, they get close. Here's a huge run for McEachin and the 37. Only issue is they're gonna have to get off each other back into 3 and 4, but we are side by side, 2 rows deep for the top 4 spots.
And Rodney Wofford at the back of this little pack is trying to decide whether he needs to be on the outside or the inside at this point in time. He's got 50 cents each way at this point in time, Joe, and he still can't make up his mind. Now he decides maybe the inside is the better line for him. They do have a lap car out in front of them, and this is going to possibly cause some dramas. Let's see what happens as they come up very, very quickly on that lap car. Brandon Tuberco now leading this thing with Donny Garantano behind him. What is the lap car going to do? What is the number 28 going to do? The lap car goes to the inside, gets right off the track. That was a wise move because you see 2 lanes of traffic coming at you. Where do you go? And he made the move, not being involved in any way, shape or form in the race. He made the decision to go right off the track. Wise move from him there, Joe.
Yeah, and I've been keeping an eye on Wofford, that number 7, trailing at the back this whole time. I don't think those are bobbles when he dips down below that yellow line. You can see he does it again there. That's him looking for air. He is trying to keep that engine cool, and sitting at the back of the pack, he's got everybody punching a huge hole. So he's doing the smart thing right here and thinking about the car and just waiting patiently.
Oh, contact, there it is. The 57 of Haggerty is in the wall. Chad Peterson in the wall as well. Now the 57's going to go around up on the racing surface. Caution flag flies. Chad Peterson is involved in it, and that may end this race. Brandon Tuberco out front. It's going to be 3 to go. This time by under the caution flag. I think that'll do it.
Well, what a pity, guys. What a pity. Yes, indeed, we're getting the replay of that incident there with Jared Haggerty. And in fact, Dana Osborne slowing there behind them as well. Doesn't really matter. But Jared Haggerty, Chad Peterson involved in that incident. That's a great pity. We were having some really great racing. But once again, Joe, if you're out front when these sorts of things happen, you are going to win. And it looks like the number 3 of Brandon Tuberco will go away with this another win under his belt with Donny Garantano possibly in 2nd place.
Yeah, a hat trick for Brandon this season is certainly going to help him, and that will help Frank Busili, who did manage to get up to a 6th place finish at least, especially with that accident unfolding in front of him. That gifted him just a couple more spots, but still, he is going to lose ground. At least today seems to be, Evan, a bit of damage limitation for him.
Yeah. And go ahead, Evan.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, Tuberco, he was up front, and he knew what he had to do. He's been chasing so long in the championship. Now he finds himself out front. And the best defense, as far point-wise, is a great offense. And no one's going to make up points on you if you take it to victory lane. So Brandon Tuberco, he did what he needed to do tonight, guys. And I don't know how it would have gone down if we'd stayed green till the end. But definitely he played his cards right. He started up inside the top 3 and ran a beautiful race. How about Donny Garantano also, guys? A very solid run. Unfortunately, going to come up 1 spot short. Still can't find that to victory lane. He'll get his 5th top 5, but the number 2 comes home in position 2.
Well, you know, one has to feel for Donny Garantano. He led most of the laps in this race. And towards the end, we see Brandon Tuberco coming from 2nd place to move in front of them. Then he has the job of helping Brandon Tuberco towards the win. And then, of course, the caution comes out, cutting off Joe any chance he might have had of taking the win.
Yeah, and that's just an unfortunate feature of this style of racing, and it kind of goes back to pay off for some of those more aggressive guys who are just up front when it counts. You know, the more time that you're up in the top position, the more likely that you're going to catch those yellow flags at the right time. So he's just playing the numbers there. It's calculated risks for all these winners in this series.
Well, correct. And just looking at the championship standings, we are on race number 9 out of 12. So 3 races to go. Donny Garantano will move past Frank Basilia, I believe, and so may Shane McKeechan. We'll have to see. But Frank Basilia currently moving backwards, Evan.
Yeah, he's not had the luck that he has wanted, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. These guys, they know what they're doing out here in these super speedway racetracks. Despite the cautions, they know how to drive these tracks. Busilia just got caught up in some bad spots. He did hurt himself when he turned across the nose of one of those machines. If he didn't do that, he would have been in that lead draft and could have easily gotten a much better finish. But moving forward, there are still 3 races to go. That does mean there is still a lot of points up for grabs, but it is an uphill climb for sure for both Busilia and now also Rod Flagg, who had a rough outing, and also Rod Light comes home 13th.
Yeah, Rod Flagg is a big loser in this particular event. I feel really bad for Rod because he was just there racing, keeping his nose clean. And Joe, you said it a little bit earlier, perhaps you need to be more aggressive sometimes rather than just sit back and wait for things to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that you're, like I said, you're weighing those risks. You're figuring out, okay, what is going to be the best strategy for today? Because no 2 races in this series are going to be alike. They're always going to unfold just a little bit differently. And, you weigh up, okay, who's around me, who's showed up today, and what kind of drivers are they? Are we going to have a lot more cautions and things like that that kind of help you figure out which is the best way to go. Do I be aggressive today or do I just hold back? And it's worked for most of the races, it seems, for Rod Flagg, but just not today, being the last car, or the first car, I should say, not on the lead lap, finishing in 13th. Definitely going to be ruining maybe a few decisions here there that left him in a bit of a vulnerable position.
Yeah, and they're all on lap number 50, which is the final lap, and we'll go to break shortly after that. Just want to make a comment on the 97 of Jason Altman's, Evan. Last week in victory lane, this week dead last of those that are finishing.
Yeah, he was able to hang on to his lead lap. He does come home P12 here, but he got caught up in a lot of incidents. The 97, again, only working 2 quick fixes. He must have used up both of those because he was one of the machines that got turned down to the grass guys, if you remember, on that front straightaway. One of those incidents that did not bring out a yellow. So because he didn't see a caution from that, he kind of got shuffled so far back there on that final stretch that he really didn't have any sort of shot at battling anybody for position. But, I mean, that's the way it goes here at Super Speedway. Some stuff you can't control, some stuff you have a little bit of input on. But, again, so much of it is out of your hands at these plate tracks that just an off night for Jason Altman's.
Yeah, and it looks like very, very soon now, Brandon Chiberko will cross the line for win number 3. There it is. The checkered flag has just flown, and Brandon Chiberko coming up to the line. Donny Garantano behind him, and then they will all file behind them, single file. We're under caution, so another race ends under caution, which is probably there are more races, Evan, I believe, that finished under caution than actually finished under green.
Yeah, and we've seen green flag finishes, and when they happen, they're exciting. But again, tonight, with the amount of cautions that really didn't give these guys enough time to get spread out, and then, as I said, that it's going to be those guys pinching each other down late in the race. It's going to cause an issue, and that's what it ended up being in. So, Chiberko, he gets the job done. This race did have its share of cautions, to say the least, but Chiberko ran a great race, and he deserves that number 3 victory.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, we are going to take that break now. We will be back with the full standings and also with some driver interviews. Back soon. Welcome back, folks, to the iSuperSpeedway.com race number 9, season number 2. And we just finished the race at Daytona. Joe, I will hand off to you this time. Please tell us the standings as we know them from iRacing at this point in time.
Well, as we said before, Brandon Chibirko took win number 3 of the season today. Donnie Giarratano, despite leading a lot of the race, came home in second due to that unfortunate timing of the yellow. Shane McEachin wound up in third with Rodney Wofford coming home in fourth. David Schudema finished in fifth with Brancusilia managing to work his way back up to sixth after a spin earlier on. Dennis Wright finished seventh with Dana Osborne in eighth, Kent Connolly in ninth, and Greg Hooks in 10th, Evan.
Yeah, 11th place is going to go to Jared Haggerty. The 57 machine gets that result. Jason Altman's the last car on the lead lap will take home P12. Rod Flagg, championship hopeful, is going to come home 13th. Ron Evans, 14th. Those are two machines that were one lap down. Dan Harrington, 15th place result. Jimmy Todd, 16th. Larry Camp, 17th. Chad Peterson, after being in that battle for the win, comes home 18th. Cody Dutton, P19. Josh Hanner could round out the top 20, and also to finish out the 23-car field, Brandon Cattell, 21st. 22nd, Ron Thompson, and Don Artman finishing P23.
Yep, and well, we do have the entire podium ready for interview tonight. So why don't we start off with our race win number 3 for Brandon Chibirko, Evan.
You were down with Brandon Chibirko. Brandon, you entered tonight's race for the first time in a little while. You're up at the top of the championship standings. You go to victory lane. I always say the best defense if you're trying to hold a points lead is a great offense. Nobody's going to gain any points on you when you walk away with the win. How'd you get that done there, and walk us through those final laps to pick up win number 3 on the season?
Yeah, I was working there. Big thanks to Shane McEachin. I was wanting to see if he was cool enough to get me around Donnie, and luckily he said he was. It took us about 2 laps to get around Donnie, and from there on I knew it would be smooth sailing to get by him. I knew everyone behind me would be too hot, and as long as I probably, just painted the yellow, I'd be fine.
So race 9 is in the bag. You take home win number 3. So you've won a third of the races so far this season. There's 3 to go. So if you're a fan of statistics, that means you're going to win at least one more of these. What's your approach moving forward now that you have that points gap in your favor? Do you ride a little bit defensively, or do you just keep doing what you're doing and keep going for checkers?
I'm going to keep going for the wins, man. I mean, winning 33% of the races, you can't argue with that. That's great. So I'm going to keep doing that, and hopefully we can at least knock down one more win out of the next 3 races that are to come.
Before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank, or sponsors, shout-outs, who makes it happen for you and the crew?
I definitely want to thank everybody at 3D Racing, especially Shane McEachin for pushing me to the win there, and Wheaties for coming on board with this race.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on yet another trip to victory lane. Good luck moving forward in the championship, and we'll keep an eye out for you moving forward at Talladega next week.
All right, thank you, Evan.
Guys, that's down here. Victory lane. Brandon Chibirko's tonight's winner.
Well, good luck to Brandon for the rest of the season, and a great win tonight once again. Well, it looks like we have lost Donnie Giarratano at this point in time, so we'll bring in Shane McEachin, and Shane will be spoken to by, that sounds weird, doesn't it? He will be interviewed by our own Joe Peak. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, Shane, you managed to get on the podium today, and I don't believe you have a win yet this season, but at least you're sticking up in those top guys. You're obviously not in the championship hunt. Are you just going to be going for wins from here on out?
Coming up with drop weeks, I think after next week, and I'm hoping that may put me a little closer. With Brandon leading and winning, though, he's definitely not going to be able to be caught.
Absolutely. There was quite a few cautions out there today. Was there any particular method that you had to try and avoid the trouble, since there was a number of cases where big ones unfolded in the middle of the pack?
Yeah, I was late getting started and missed the start and had to come all the way from the back, and got involved in a couple of the skirmishes and used up, the repairs I had quick, and so from then on it was, had to go with what we had. basically just try to, dodge the junk and pick up spots as you could.
Absolutely. Well, with only a couple rounds left, it seems like things are getting a little bit down to the wire. Do you expect the racing to be a little bit similar today, where there's going to be more cautions with a little bit more risky moves going on?
Yeah, well, like you brought up, it's if the points are out of reach, that the only thing you race for is a win. Then I'll throw caution out the window and see what you can get.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to all that action and unfolding. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Back to you, Richard.
Thank you, Joe. Well, we do not have, unfortunately, Donnie Garatano. Would have been great to speak with Donnie. So that kind of wraps it up for tonight. Evan and Joe will just get a couple of thoughts from each of you on what the upcoming races. Only 3 left. The championship certainly winding down right now.
Unfortunately, I think Evan had to take off or something before we could close up today. But my thoughts are revolve around what I was just talking to Shane about, that this series is going to see a lot of antsy drivers as things get closer to the end here. And I think we saw just a taste of it today with a few risky moves made and maybe a few tempers flaring out throughout the race. And it's only going to get hotter from here on out.
And that is just going to make the racing more exciting and more interesting for us to call. Well, guys, it's all over. And congratulations once again to Brandon Chaberko, Donnie Garatano, and Shane McKeechan for getting on the podium tonight. And that is it for us tonight. If you would like to find out more about GSRC, you know where to find us. www.globalsimracingchannel.com, and you will find all our archived races and race highlights there. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. We very much would like to thank Rod Flagg and his team who organized this league. We would also like to thank the makers of various software and hardware that we use to make the stream possible. That is iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, Behringer, and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today, Giancarlo directing the traffic, Evan, and of course Joe Pig. Thank you guys. It's always fun to work with all of you. Now, a special thank you goes to Dougie Beard once again for creating the camera sets that give us those awesome camera views during the broadcast. A very special thank you also to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with a lot of our music. You can find it here not only on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like the music, tell Eric where you heard it. He's on Twitter at Eric Ekholm. Well, we have a number of upcoming events we would like to tell you about. First off is Saturday tomorrow, where we will have the Blondies MX5 World Tour round number 2 of season 8, and that will be at Silverstone. It's a road course. They will be using the southern version. See you there. Sunday we have VSRA, the Virtual Sim Racing Association. They will be at Barber, another road race. And then on next Wednesday, we will have the ASRS. The race will be at New Hampshire, and we look forward to that one as well. The next iSuperSpeedway event will be next Friday. It will be race number 10 at Talladega, and we will hopefully see you all there for what is one of the closing races in this very interesting championship. So, folks, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we will see you on track. Thank you.